Build the perfect recovery strategy that's going to help you recover much quicker after your runs and training sessions. And to help you with this is what I use in terms of my 5R system. And in this video, I'm going to talk you through each one and what to think about from a nutrition point of view, as well as some other considerations to further help. So the first R, this is the refuel. So refuel is really important in terms of helping the body to replace those glycogen stores, the energy stores that have been used during exercise. In terms of physiology, we only have very limited stores within the body. We've got enough energy for around 90 minutes to 2 hours worth of high intensity exercise, providing that we fueled sufficiently beforehand. So if you're under fueling, you've gone out for a long run, essentially fasted, this is where it could start to impact your performance. Equally, when it comes to fueling, if you imagine your body is a bit like the fuel tank in your car, in the same way you try to drive from London to Scotland on half tank of petrol, you're going to use up that fuel and you're going to struggle to make it. And the same thing is happening here. So it's really important that we then refuel, replenish those energy stores. So once we finish, we want to be incorporating a good source of carbohydrate, maybe some post-exercise carbohydrate-based snacks. So cereal bars, smoothies, it could be pieces of fruit, anything like that are some good examples. And then as soon as possible, once you get home, you've got access to more food, more cooking facilities, having a carbohydrate based meal. So adding things like pasta, rice, using things like bagels and baguettes and sandwiches is a great way to incorporate that carbohydrate that's going to help us refuel. The second R is then our rebuild. So rebuild, really important to help with the muscle growth and repair here. So again, during exercise, during these runs, we start breaking those muscle tissues and muscle structure down. And so adding protein in this post-exercise meal is what's going to help you to recover much quicker. So that protein is really important to help with that muscle growth and repair. And over time, this is what's essentially going to help you get stronger, fitter, faster. That's where you're going to see the biggest improvements in your running performance. So again, same thing, as soon as we finished our runs or training sessions, we want a good source of protein. So in terms of protein snacks, this could be, again, yogurts, things like flavoured milk are a great way to get a good source of protein into the body without having to rely on loads of supplements such as protein powders here. And then when you've got access to more suitable, more filling options, this could be things like using meats, fishes, poultry, things like eggs, so 2 or 3 eggs scrambled or as an omelette, you've got about 20 grams of protein. In terms of amounts and guidelines, with the carbohydrate, we want to aim for about 1 gram of carbohydrate per kilogram of body mass in that post-exercise meal. Here, in terms of the protein, we want to aim for about 0.3 grams of protein per kilogram of body mass to support that. So for most runners, this is going to come out somewhere around 20 to 25 grams of protein as a good guide there. The third R is then our rehydrate. So rehydration, really important to replace that fluid that's lost during our runs and during exercise. So when it's really hot, humid, the body starts to warm up, and to help regulate that body temperature, this is where we start to sweat. So the more we sweat, the more fluid that we lose, and this is what can start to impact us both physically and psychologically. So physically, the runs become harder, we're having to work harder, we're using more energy. From a psychological point of view, we see that increased perceived effort, we see that sort of struggle or more difficult to maintain that consistent pace or target pace for the duration of your run. Or maybe if this is a race, so if you do let's say something like a marathon, for example, you might start to struggle as a result if you're really dehydrated. So again, really important to make sure we're replacing the fluid following our runs and exercise. As a guide, most runners I've worked with over the years, they'll have a sweat rate of somewhere around maybe half a litre to a litre of fluid per hour during their runs or during their sessions. So if you're going out for a run, let's say 2-3 hours, potentially you're losing anything from maybe half a kilo up to about 1.5 kilos worth of fluid, which if not replaced, it's going to have a really significant impact on your performance and your recovery. So a good guideline here, or a good tip here, is to weigh yourself before and after your training run or your race, whatever it is, in sort of minimal clothing, so underwear or naked if that's easier for you. Make a note of those measurements before and afterwards. When you sort of look at the two and look at the difference, Just for ease of maths, if you, let's say you've gone for an hour's run and after an hour you've lost a kilo. A kilo is roughly the equivalent to a litre, so this means you've got a sweat rate of around 1 litre per hour. So if, and essentially for every litre that you're losing, it's recommended to try and drink around 150 or 1.5 times that amount. So if you're losing a litre, we want to be drinking essentially 1.5 litres, just to help make sure sufficient amounts of fluid are getting back into the body, as a lot of it will then be excreted. In terms of what you can rehydrate with, you could use water to an extent. However, a lot of that water is just going to pass straight through your system. So even things like using sports drinks, using cordials, using things like milk. When it comes to these 3 R's, milk, whether it be sort of a pint of semi-skim milk, whether it be the flavoured milk, for example, it is a really good sort of fantastic option here, because you've got a really good source of protein, really good source of carbohydrate, really good source of calcium. Just bear in mind, if you do use sort of dairy alternatives, this won't always be the same, but you've got something that's going to really hit all three of these 3 R's of recovery. The fourth R is actually something a little bit different. This is not so much nutrition focused, but it's more around the importance of rest. So rest time, sleep. Again, in my experience, a lot of runners either overlook the importance of sleep or struggle to get a good night's sleep as well, for a number of reasons. But recommendations here would be at least 7 to 9 hours of sleep per night. In addition, particularly after maybe some high intensity weeks or high intensity sessions, having maybe a post-exercise nap of around half an hour or so, or no longer than half an hour, can also be a great way to help the body and support that recovery process here. The fifth R is something a little bit different. This is something that I add myself, which is essentially what I call repeat. So when it comes to what I mean here, repeat is basically all about the importance of doing this after every training session, after every race. It's all very well and good when some runners might do a little bit of this, or maybe 1 or 2 of these R's every now and then, but the most successful runners I've seen are the ones that follow these 4 R's after every single training session, after every single run. So starting to plan ahead, having some kit bag essentials, keeping bits in the car. If you have to stop off at a shop, for example, knowing what's going to help, or what's going to help you hit those 3 R's or 4 R's, it is going to make such a big difference. So over the coming weeks and months, that's where you're going to see the biggest improvements in your training runs. I hope this video has been useful. If you're a runner who's looking to take your performance to the next level, click the link below this video and you'll see you can join the Fuel the Runner platform, or I've got lots of other resources that can further help and enhance your running performance too.